He never lost, 60 duels, 0 defeats, and his secret wasn't skill, it was emptiness. Miyamoto Musashi, Japan's greatest swordsman, a man who could kill you before you even saw him move. But what made him unbeatable wasn't his technique, wasn't his speed, wasn't his strength. It was his mind. Completely empty. No fear, no anger, no ego, no thought, just pure awareness, pure presence. And that emptiness made him unstoppable. Because most people fight with a mind full of noise. And noise gets you killed. So let's go back. About 400 years ago, feudal Japan, samurai everywhere. Warriors training their whole lives, perfecting technique, building strength, practicing form. Everyone's trying to be the best. And then there's Musashi, an orphan, no formal training, no prestigious school, no master teaching him the proper way. Just him and a sword, figuring things out through actual combat, through duels to the death. He fights his first duel at 13. Kills a grown man. Trained warrior, didn't matter. Musashi won because he didn't fight like people expected. Didn't follow the rules. Didn't have technique to restrict him. He just fought, and he won. And he keeps winning. Duel after duel, year after year. Against master swordsmen, against legendary fighters, against people who should have beaten him, and he never loses. Not once. People start asking how. What's his secret? What technique does he use? What style? What training? And Musashi says something that confuses everyone. He says the secret is having no technique, no fixed style, no preference, no attachment to any particular way of fighting. Just emptiness. Just responding to what is instead of what you think should be. Most fighters have a favorite move, a go-to technique, a style they trained in, and that becomes their limitation. Because when you're attached to a specific way, you can only see solutions that fit that way. You're limited by your own knowledge. But Musashi has no favorite anything, no preferred stance, no signature move. He's completely formless, which means he can be any form, can adapt to anything, can respond to any situation in whatever way actually works, instead of whatever way he's trained to respond. This is what he calls emptiness. Not being nothing, but containing nothing that blocks you from being anything. No fixed ideas, no rigid beliefs, no attachment to how things should be, just pure awareness of how things actually are. He watches other fighters, and he sees them thinking during combat, trying to remember technique, trying to execute the perfect form, trying to predict what's coming. And all that thinking slows them down, creates hesitation, creates gaps. And gaps get you killed. But Musashi doesn't think, he's empty. Which means he's completely present, not in his head analyzing. Just there, seeing, responding, moving. No delay between seeing and acting. No thought between perception and response. That's the advantage. That's the secret. That's what makes him unbeatable. While his opponent is thinking, Musashi is doing. While they're analyzing, he's moving. While they're in their head, he's in the moment. And the moment is where combat happens. He writes about this later. He says, in strategy, it is important to see distant things as if they were close, and to take a distanced view of close things. What does that mean? It means, don't get too attached to anything. Don't get lost in the moment. Don't get overwhelmed by what's right in front of you. Stay empty enough to see everything. Stay detached enough to respond to anything. Most people do the opposite. They get completely absorbed in their immediate problem. They can't see the bigger picture. Can't see alternative options. Can't adapt because they're too attached to their current perspective. But emptiness lets you see everything, near and far, immediate and strategic, detail and context. Because you're not stuck in any one view. You're empty enough to hold all views simultaneously. Musashi also says, think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. That's another form of emptiness. Don't be filled with ego. Don't be filled with your own importance. Don't be filled with thoughts about how you should be seen or what you should achieve. Stay light. Stay empty. Stay unattached to outcomes. Because ego creates weight, creates fear, creates hesitation. If you're worried about looking good, you fight cautiously. If you're attached to winning, you fight desperately. If you're afraid of losing, you fight defensively. All of that is weight. All of that slows you down. But if you're empty of ego, you just fight. No weight, no fear, no hesitation, just pure action. And pure action is faster, cleaner, more effective than action filtered through ego. Now, here's where this gets deeper. Musashi isn't just talking about sword fighting. He's talking about life, about how to approach anything, about how to be effective in any situation. He says most people are full of opinions, full of beliefs, full of assumptions about how things should be, full of attachment to their way, and all that fullness makes them rigid, blind, unable to adapt when reality doesn't match their expectations. But if you stay empty, if you let go of fixed ideas about how things should be, you can see how things actually are. And when you see clearly, you can respond effectively, not based on what you think should work, based on what actually works in this specific situation. This is mastery. Not having all the answers. Being empty enough to find the right answer for each moment. Not having one technique. Being empty enough to use any technique. Not having a fixed way. Being empty enough to flow with whatever way reality requires. Now let's bring this to your life. Because you're full. Full of thoughts, full of opinions, full of beliefs about how things should be, full of attachment to your way of doing things. And all that fullness is limiting you. Think about work. You probably have ideas about how things should be done. The right way, the best way, your way. And when reality doesn't cooperate, when people don't do it your way, when situations require a different approach, you struggle. You resist. You keep trying to force your way, instead of adapting to what's actually needed. Musashi would say, empty yourself. Let go of your way being the only way. See the situation clearly. Respond to what's actually happening instead of what you think should be happening. Be formless enough to take whatever form the situation requires. Or think about conflict. You're arguing with someone, and you're full of the need to be right, full of your position, full of ego, and all that fullness makes you rigid, makes you defensive, makes you unable to hear what they're actually saying, because you're too busy defending what you believe. Musashi would say, empty yourself. Let go of needing to win. Let go of needing to be right. Just be present with what's happening. Listen without your ego filtering everything. Respond to what's actually being said instead of what you're prepared to argue against. That's the power of emptiness. Not weakness, not passivity, but the ultimate flexibility, the ultimate awareness, the ultimate responsiveness. Because when you're empty, nothing blocks you, nothing limits you, nothing slows you down. Here's another application. You're facing a problem, and your mind is full of all the ways it can't be solved, all the reasons it won't work, all the limitations, all the fears, and all that mental noise prevents you from seeing the solution that's right in front of you. Musashi would say, empty your mind. Let go of all those thoughts about what's impossible. Just look at the situation with fresh eyes. See what's actually there instead of what you think is there. And often, the solution becomes obvious once you stop filling your mind with reasons it can't work. This is what Musashi mastered, and he mastered it through 60 life or death duels where being full, being attached, being rigid meant instant death. So he learned to be empty, to let go, to flow, to adapt. And that's what kept him alive. After he retired from dueling, he wrote it all down. He said, the way of strategy, the way of mastery, the way of life, it's all the same. Stay empty, don't be attached. Don't be filled with fixed ideas. Just be present. Just respond, just adapt. He wrote, you must understand that there is more than one path to the top of the mountain. Most people find one path and think that's the only way. They commit to it, get attached to it, and when that path gets blocked, they're stuck. They don't know what to do because they only know one way. But Musashi stayed empty, which meant he could take any path, could switch paths, could create new paths, because he wasn't attached to any particular way. He was empty enough to see all ways. This is the ultimate freedom, not having one way, being empty enough to find the right way for each situation, not having one answer, being empty enough to discover the answer that actually fits, not being fixed, being empty enough to flow with whatever comes. Most people will never understand this. They'll stay full of their beliefs, their opinions, their way, their ego, and they'll wonder why life is so hard, why they keep hitting the same walls, why they can't adapt. But you can be different. You can learn what Musashi learned through 60 duels. That emptiness isn't weakness, emptiness is power. That having no fixed way means you can take any way. That being formless means you can take any form. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to know the right way. You just need to be empty enough to see clearly, empty enough to respond freely, empty enough to adapt constantly. That's mastery. That's what Musashi discovered. And it's still true, still waiting, still available to anyone willing to let go of being full and learn to be empty. Subscribe for more ancient wisdom that cuts through everything.